Hello and welcome. Today we've got Alan Fountain, and today we are going to be discussing how the elites or the Cabal has been harvesting human energy. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and Alan can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Alan, thank you for joining me, sir. How are you and what have you been up to?
Hi, Nicholas. I've been very busy. I came up with a topic that I wanted to discuss after watching what's going on in the Patriot movement right now. I know that with the 17 movement, we've learned a lot of new terms with the human trafficking and with pedophilia and a lot of this suffering that's going on. And a lot of us people that study some of the esoteric paradigms, we're familiar with a term called loosh. And loosh is a lot of people who do esoteric research or in the angelic realms, and they understand this. A lot of people that are in religion is kind of kept from them. So we know that the Cabal is trying to enslave humanity, and they have many different ways of doing it. They do it in the quantum field, and they do it in the 3D field, which is the physical. And so what I thought would be a good topic to talk about is you and I discussing loosh and my sharing with you what I've learned about how the Cabal or the elite, the esoteric secret societies, how they have learned to harvest or why they're harvesting human energy. What they're doing is the fourth dimensional beings, the esoteric, like the archons, they are swapping intelligence, secrets, and ways to get rich for the elite Illuminati citizens in our world. For they will give them secrets and how to get rich and how to have dominion over the slaves if they help them create loosh. And you might ask, what is loosh? So have you ever heard of loosh before, Nicholas, that term?
It's the first time I'm hearing it.
Wow, that's interesting, but I'll tell you why I thought it might be a good topic. You have some amazing guests on your show. You had Penny, who tells an amazing story. She had so much to cover when she was talking about her experiences working in Hollywood and what was going on with some of the symbolisms and the numbers that was happening, and how she was trying to explain the esoteric. And I think maybe she is so used to talking with other persons and herself about these paradigms. I noticed in the comments that some of the audience were not quite up to speed with her language. So I thought that I could help by giving some of that esoteric intro lesson. Also, you had another great guest. I can't remember his name. Is Varney or something? The gentleman who did the car managed
Trevor
the cars.
Carney.
What's his name?
Trevor Carney. He was a partner of the grandson of Disney, Walt Disney, Nick.
Yeah.
And
yes.
He owned Pimp My Ride on MTV, customizing cars of the elites.
Nice. Great guest, by the way, because I want to tell you, I understood everything he was talking about. Because a lot of us people that have been targets of the Cabal to silence us or either to steal our loosh energy, they're using us as victims to contain us. I believe he mentioned that he was a victim of gang stalking. Gang stalking is very real. I have a very close friend who went on the Dr. Phil show back in, I would say it had to be 2015, 2014, and presented to Dr. Phil the history of gang stalking and how he was being gang stalked, and they humiliated him. He's an attorney. So what they did is they turned his life on him, made him a victim for discussing this esoteric gang stalking, which your guest knows that it happens. And what they do is the people, some of your audience are more advanced than others. What people are now learning is that This 17 movement is about enlightening these citizens to have information warfare, declassifying information that lets us know what's really going on in the world. And by having that information, we can be empowered. One of the main goals is to stop human trafficking, to end the pedophilia. All of these things have two different formulas. One formula benefits the interdimensional species that people are not familiar with, called the archons. These are the fourth dimensional beings who live in the quantum field. And then we have our 3D world that we're currently in. And the way the 3D world benefits is from money, from selling the children. The energy becomes the money and the currency. But what it is a collaboration between the elite Cabal, which your guest told you about, both Penny and both Trevor. Did I get that right? I hope I got it right.
Trevor, yeah,
Trevor was telling you how their associations dealing with the elite. Trevor told you how he did not like what was going on in that field and how it just went intuition. So what's going on is that we think of this as the physical currency, then the interdimensional currency. The physical currency is prestige, wealth, the elite that get to be in that top 1%, the Illuminati. Now, it is psychic energy. This is the fourth dimensional species. Is in the, I'm just checking my settings here. Okay, we're good. So the interdimensional fourth dimension, 4D, we're going from a 3D society to a 4D civilization. That's part of what's going on in the Great Awakening. So what Trevor and Penny might not have, may have assumed that people were up to speed on what these esoteric languages were. But the definition of Loosh is like a psychic energy in the quantum field that the interdimensional archons need as food. So they harvest this. It's like having a psychic vampire around you. You know how you have friends and you say, oh my God, I feel like they're an energy vampire, that they're draining the energy out of you. In many cases, they are. So what Loosh energy is that psychic quantum energy that comes when you suffer. And so we've noticed that the Cabal, we talked about this, like what's going on in Ukraine, how these Nazi elite Cabal, deep state, all the same, that they are trying to enslave humanity so that they can continue letting their Illuminati partners, this top 1% who is trying to enslave humanity, have power. So what is important to do is to learn how to master self-mastery, which is managing your emotions, and I'm going to get into a topic of something that just happened with Donald Trump. But Loosh is one of the key things that a lot of people that discuss esoteric topics, they discuss. So do you kind of understand a little bit more about the energy vampire and the interdimensional species? First of all, you have to let your mind go there, that you can believe that there are spirits in the interdimensional that we can't see in our physical resonance. We can only see a certain percentage of what is reality out there. You know, you have some people that may talk to people who have passed over. They're talking to them in another dimension. These persons, they have the gift of the ability to see. I am really sensitive to intuition and to sensing paradigms that not everyone can readily see, but that is the human gift. All humans have the ability to do that because we are a higher genetically gifted species that have been dumbed down. Mm-hmm. So is there any questions that you've about right now before I go on further?
Sure, absolutely. I definitely resonate with that. It's a human gift that we've got from God. We're able to, with our intuitions, go into things, and also the manifestation abilities to create.
That's it.
You mentioned earlier about religion, why you think people who are very into their religions are kept away or unaware of Lush. Do you want to explain to us why you think that is?
Yeah, very good question. And that actually happens to be something that's going on in my life right now, where this is going to become a struggle for all of humanity. Religion is part of the elite system. We know that a lot of the religions have Masons, were founded from Masons. It was part of the enslavement matrix. We also know that the Vatican is one of the hugest loose-producing institutions on earth because they rape children. And we've learned through the 17 movement how inside the Vatican, they have the room that looks like a serpent's face. They have those jewel serpent eyes in the Vatican auditorium, and it looks like the cobra face. So until we've talked about the three empire city-states, how London, the Vatican, and America are part of the three empire city-states. The Phoenicians had come down over time. Like a lot of people, that will hear me talking right now, their religion and their pastors have told them that this is blasphemy, that it's you're dabbling in the occult, because you may talk about, this is where the confusion comes in with General Flynn and some of the other people. I happen to know and believe that the whole world is made up of energy, frequency, and vibration. So what we're doing is Nikola Tesla talks about the law of vibration. This is a universal law. And so what a lot of people that are good Christian people and they mean well, they've been gaslighted by their pastors to believe that if they discuss frequency or they discuss energy, that they're abandoning Christ. That's not true. God, the creator and the father of Christ, created energy and frequency. So they say you're dabbling in New Age. No, Christ is New Age. This part of the world that God created has been around longer than Christ. Christ came in to take us slowly away from the archons who have used universal laws for service of self versus what Christians and Nikola Tesla's Whitehead energy is in service of others. Then you have the alternate paradigm, which is in service of self. So all of these truths about energy, frequency, vibration are laws of the universe that God created. It's your intention that you put behind them. So a lot of people in our movement are fighting with one another. They're fighting each other, thinking that they're going to root out the enemy. They don't realize the enemy is the Illuminati. It's the Satanists. It's the people creating loose energy through suffering. Like, for instance, Megan Walsh is out there fighting this battle to save her children, going up against her father, who is an Illuminati puppet, in my opinion. This man is trying to steal her children. What this does is it creates loose energy for the archons in the fourth dimension. This is going to be a little out there. The reptilian Draco hybrid energy field. And until you study exopolitics and realize that there's more going on in our world that has been kept from you, and keep an open mind and go research on your own. But what's happening is Megan Walsh could probably use the help of all these people that are in our movement that are fighting each other. They're trying to figure out who is more patriotic than the other. They're both patriots, but they're trying to put it in a hierarchy. I think that energy could be better served if we take these people and their resources and help whistleblowers and people that are on the front line do something constructive. Because what's happened is the pastors have gaslighted their congregation to follow either innocently, some are compromised, and some are innocent. But what they're doing is they're giving false messages about how the world really, really works. So what they're doing is I heard a great story today online where this gentleman tells a story of a woman. I think her name is Eileen. This is back in 1900. It's about sin, where this girl is in a poor family. She's in a poor part of town. They give her a job out of town if she goes at 13 and works in the cotton mills. She does this as a 13-year-old. She ends up getting pregnant because she didn't have the sophisticated skills. So what happened is religion had taught her that she had sinned. So therefore, she carries this sin with her whole life, has a miserable life of being shunned. Shun creates loosh. Shame creates loosh. So you have all these teachings that are coming from religion that are helping the archon loosh producing system for these interdimensional beings, demons, reptilians, archons, to feed on and get substances. So here we have this fake paradigm of religion creating sins. If you're gay, if you're this, all these things that, like the gay thing is about scapegoating the pedophiles that are in religion. The pedophiles help create loosh, which feeds these interdimensional. So the key to having the way to become beyond this is mastering your emotions to handle fear, anxiety, and deal with your trauma. It's like becoming a self-mastery of doing your best to prevent yourself from having a false paradigm in fear. Fear is the absence of faith. So when you stay in pure faith, you can rise above these loosh-producing traumas. I had a trauma right before we went on the air, and I thought, well, this is God giving me a test here. Here I am, I'm gonna go in here and talk about self-mastery and being able to overcome them by self-control. Donald Trump just did something. I heard a great interview with David Wilcock, who talks about this paradigm in his recent video where he talks about executive function. Executive function is self-mastery skills. Donald Trump had a hole-in-one on a golf game, 181 foot, hit the ball, it went in the putt, in the hole. And so here he is, David Wilcock explains it, that his kinesiology was able to guide the ball into the hole. And I asked my military guy, the one you and I both know, said, explain this to me. He's working in this consciousness field and doing some projects with the extension of the Trump military. And he explained it to me that what it is that when you can master your own emotions, and when trauma happens or fear, what happens is you can manifest in your life what you want to see happen. And so when I had this trauma, all the money was drained out of my account earlier. I can't access my account. I was at a restaurant. I couldn't pay my bill right before I went on the air. My credit card is cut off. So here I am panicking. And I thought, okay, this is that communication behind the scenes of these archons who can influence things to keep people in a state of trauma. You know, a lot of us whistleblowers are having events happen to us to dismantle us and disrupt us. This is what goes on in that fourth dimensional field or these interdimensional fields that we're not aware of. So until people can become comfortable with thinking that it's not an offensive to God, it's not offensive to Jesus, to acknowledge that these paradigms exist, but learn how to have spiritual warfare and not human warfare with one another. Every time we fight or have discord, we're giving these archons energy and fuel. Is this resonating if I explained it in a way where you can?
Absolutely. If you could also explain to the viewers the different types of ways, methods, or formulas of, loosh energy, how they retrieve loosh energy. For an example, the mainstream media propaganda, they create fear. So what are the other different ways?
Okay. Some of the other ways that I've noticed over my life, for instance, we know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys or 1 in 5 are molested. This is allowed to happen on purpose. And its sole purpose is to create loosh energy, because this child's life is going to be stunted and traumatic. They're going to have a stunted launch into life. they're going to drink, they're going to have coping problems, they're going to have marriage problems, they're going to be dysfunctional because they get a slow, stunted start. This is one of the things that helps create loosh. People think that's what I'm talking about. That's the esoteric, interdimensional part. Then we have the 3D part, which is that the pedophiles who naturally gravitate to raping children, they are an asset to the cabal. That's why they don't get in trouble. That's why there's not any laws to protect kids. That's one of the most major loosh producing. As I mentioned before, 60 million adult survivors in America now have been ritually molested as a child. That is the hugest loosh producing energy. So what happens is the people that are the elite cabal that are in that 1% and the 4% enablers that are our judges, that get to be in the Illuminati, they get to be actors, they get all these privileged roles in life of power, and they don't have consequences usually in their life unless they piss off the cabal. Then they might take them out. But if you'll start thinking in terms of what creates loosh and anything that happens to create loosh. So like you mentioned earlier, okay, we have the child suffering. The CPS system, which is Child Protective, or the DCF, which is the Department of Children and Families. Hillary Clinton's came into office when Meghan's brother was kidnapped and ultimately died and murdered. Many people believe that that was her father's intro into the Illuminati. He sacrificed his child in order for him to have privilege and be in that elite system that we're now taking out. These persons who are in a lower vibration field, because they are dark entities, their vibration is not high enough to see what's going on out there. Like the Q movement is a higher vibration operation, and we're in a sting operation right now. And they think because their president of choice is in office, they don't realize what's going over here on the left, that we're taking out that entire institution that creates loosh. So you have loosh coming from the Child Protective Services. When the mother gets her child stolen and there's no legal defense, everything is manipulated, and they give that child to the Satanist family member taken from the Christian, the system protects that. It's a scam system all across the country, intentionally to legally steal children from their mothers. But it's usually, unless it's the elite system, like with Meghan, or like what happened in my family recently, where they stole my Christian niece's children, gave them to my family member. This is their currency to stay in that up system of the Illuminati. So they sacrifice the children and give them their life to the Illuminati to be in there. What's happening now with Child Protection is they're restocking their Illuminati system. So they need these children to put into the Illuminati system. So they're going to start brainwashing them now. So that's one reason why if her father gets her children, something could happen to one of them. He's already lost one kid at a department store that wound up murdered. Why are they taking it from a sane Christian mother who hasn't had any problems and giving it to a man who sacrificed a child already? The system is whacked. So these are all loosh producing things. Also, the media creates loosh. When you can lower the vibration of a society, you can easily MK Ultra or brainwash. In my first article on spiritual warfare, I put a chart in there that shows the different states of a frequency based on emotion. Starts out with shame and goes up to enlightenment, or 700 from 20. So you can go and look at these charts. But the media is a key one. When you said media, that was a prime one. When you have mass shootings, when you have the 9/11 building manipulated, when you have all these false flags, the Black Lives Matters chaos, when you divide races and people, this is the tool of the deep state, is to create loosh and division. The 17 movement gave us all of the 3D principles, plus gave us some of the esoteric. So once people learn that we're in a multi-dimensional universe, and can be okay with that and realize that they're researching that is not blasphemy to God. It's important for people to have an individual relationship with Christ and with our Creator. You don't need a Masonic pastor who is either innocently trained in clergy school to become this person, or they're in on the con. There's a gentleman who wrote the Trump prophecies, Mark Taylor, who solely swears by and talks about how they are in a covenant with Baal through the 501c3 system, which is part of the corporate American system. So they happen to know that. Their goal was to take away the guns from the parishioners when the New World Order was starting. They were also going to be the ones that led their flock into the FEMA camp during the jab episode. You know, they were going to take us into quarantine, and the pastors was going to lead all their congregants into the FEMA camps that they thought was safe harbor. We stopped all of that. These are all loosh producing things that those interdimensional archons gave the elite secrets in order for them to help this collaboration. So this is when you go back and you research archaeology, ancient times, you're going to find out about this paradigm.
Mm-hmm. Now, Alan, that's very well explained. Thank you so much. Now, if it was possible, and I'm sure it will be very soon, that they were to stop or unable to produce loosh energy completely, what does it do exactly to the Cabal? How does it affect them? How does it impact them when they're no longer able to produce the loosh energy that they're feeding off from?
Good question. Very good question, because I'm talking about what's happening in the interdimensional and what's happening in the physical 3D. So the Cabal is the physical 3D. Their master is the reptilian Draco demonic entities of the Illuminati. So what happens is when we master self-control, executive function, the same skills that Trump used to get that hole in one, when that ball went in there, the fact that he got out of the way, there was a lot going on in his life that day, but he was able to focus his mind and vision that ball going in the hole. He had self-controlled mastery.
Alan, you're cutting up there. I can't hear you. There's no audio. There's no audio.
Let's see.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Anytime I say something really, really that resonates with.
I know, it seems like they're tapping in, hey?
Well, this is that interdimensional interrupting frequencies. I know a lot of people say, oh, that's bullshit, blah, 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 blah. But it tends to happen when too much truth is getting out there. So you're asking me how do we stop the loosh? And when the loosh stops, what happens is we're going from a 3D to a 5D paradigm. In the fifth dimension, there's no loosh for these archons to feed on. Because when the frequency goes up to enlightenment or to the 5D, they need this below the 3D state of consciousness in order to feed. So when we get up to here, they can't function in this environment. So the lower vibration entities that need adrenochrome, loosh and adrenochrome are the same drug. What it is the 3D people who drink the adrenochrome, those are the physical human hybrids or the humans that partake in adrenochrome. The ones that partake in loosh are the interdimensional beings. It's the same paradigm. You get it from suffering of children. So what happens is when you get adrenochrome from a child, the 3D physical human or the hybrid reptilian will drink that, but the interdimensional being will take that psychic vampire energy in the quantum field to feed off, because they don't have a physical body. They are an energy being. So they need energy for their food like we need sustenance, which is the blood and the adrenochrome. So we eat food, plants, etc. So if you're an energy being, you have to have more energy. And that energy is that vibration of fear and torture. So the way to get rid of loosh is to raise consciousness. So if we can master our emotions, if we can stay in faith, have a strong connection with your God, who is a loving God, don't have a fearful God who is a punishing God. My God is not punishing. My God gives me a hug. My God supports me. My God is a team player. Don't have this God who is, you're a sinner. You're going to hell. You're going to burn in fire. Those people are teaching damnation. Revelations was altered so that we would want the New World Order to come so that Jesus could come back. They altered parts of Revelations so that we would want the New World Order to hurry up and come, and we would invite it in so Jesus could come back. That's one part of the Bible that my sources claim was altered. So I think that it's very important. A lot of people that are in religion, they can process the concept that the Cabal manipulated everything about our system with the judiciary, with politics, but they can't imagine that the Vatican, who is in charge of religion and rapes children, how could they manipulate the Bible? This is where they're still brainwashed. So they need to work on their own brainwashing and realize that it is conceivable that persons in power could manipulate the Bible in order to enslave humanity to get loose.
Absolutely. I mean, if Parler can get banned off the App Store, I mean, why, if the Bible was the truth, then why don't they ban that? But obviously, you may have a good point there, because it is fear when you say, well, if you do this, you will go to heaven for eternal life. And if you do that, you will go to hell for eternal life. But your God loves you unconditionally.
Absolutely.
Now, that when there's rules, 1 minute we have rules, and then the next minute we have free will, so they contradict each other, and it seems very communistic, like you're saying. So, and it resonates really well when you think of, God is love. As long as you have good intentions, you do whatever you want. But if you have good intentions and you have love in you, that's all you need, because you're in that vibration of God.
Exactly. That's how you get rid of loose, is you raise your own frequency and you master your emotions and you stay in faith. And that faith is what led that golf ball into that hole. And that faith is what's getting us targeted people that have been enslaved, staying on this agenda to save humanity from these tragic, evil people. So reframe your perception of how you see the world, and be open-minded that I'm not being blasphemous, that I'm just sharing research and my own discernment. A lot of persons in power have embraced my journey, so they know something, that I'm doing something that is trustworthy, or they would not be supporting me. And there's people that are supporting me that also are heavy into religion, who are now going to disown me. But
absolutely.
You know what? I'm comfortable with, I have to stay in the truth. What people need to understand is when you're in the truth, the universal truth, that's the highest vibration. Not somebody else's truth. When you're in your truth in that moment, and you don't need to force your truth on someone else. You invite people to come learn what you're sharing. And when they get there, they get there. I'm sharing with you my truth of what I've learned. And if it helps you,
Alan Fountain, it's been a great honor to have you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the viewers before we finish?
I would like to, as always, thank everyone for supporting me. I'm having trauma. We missed our show last week. I'm going to tell you, these people don't like what I'm saying. I had to cancel my show because I was traumatized. Something happens traumatic right before our shows. My bicycle, I live in an area where I bike down to restaurants or whatever, or to do my stuff. I went down to a restaurant. They loosened the brakes on my bicycle. Okay, this is one day. I come back. I go back 4 days later, and they pull the brakes out of the bicycle. This, to me, is subliminal notice. You need to stop what you're doing. It's kind of like a mafia warning. So I turned this into, there's an Army agency that has a police force across America that we can now use and report things. So I turned this into there, and they got the video, but this stuff is still going on. So I wanted to humbly thank people who have been supporting my Give, Send, Go. I wouldn't be able to survive if it had not been your support. And I'm going to try to connect with these people and thank them in person. But when I'm not on camera right now, my life is still about trying to master my emotions so that they don't get a loose from me. We're all under that paradigm right now, all of humanity. What's going on with the Cabal making us have all these things that we're all experiencing, it is all manipulation. It's to bring our vibration down, to keep us in fear. Have your faith in God that none of these things are going to harm you, and go out and stay in joy and do joyful things. But thank you all for continuing to support me. My coffers are low again. So if you feel blessed, help me. Thank you.
I will. Thank you so much, Alan. I will leave all of the links below, your links below in the description, so you can receive that support. And again, thank you for everything you are doing for all of us. And God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.